Hello, my name is Kirsten Lovett. For this assessment, I worked in a team with Ruby Lovell, Jason Overton, Luke Dalton, and Poppy Benno. Our learning area was English, and we marked the English IA1 sample. The purpose of this video is to explain the quality assurance process and its purpose to viewers. To do this, I will be reflecting on the process of marking an IA1 assessment as part of EUN222, reflecting on observing the moderation process in a school as a student on PECS, and relating these experiences to relevant literature and the course material. Marking the IA1 first required an in-depth understanding of the IA1's ISMG and the language used to describe achievement levels in each of the three criterion. To gain this understanding, I relied heavily on the senior English syllabus and on information gained through in-class learning and discussions. After gaining an understanding of the assessment and its ISMG, I individually marked the English IA1 sample. I read the sample multiple times and highlighted examples of the characteristics required to meet each of the three criterion listed on the ISMG. After highlighting examples, I awarded the student marks within each criterion and added these points together in order to give this assessment an overall mark of 17 out of 25. At the time of marking, I felt I still had a weak understanding of the qualifiers effective and discerning, so I looked forward to starting the social moderation process with my team members. As a group, we began our meeting by first stating the overall grade we had awarded the assessment. Then we went through each criterion individually, starting with knowledge and application, and shared the marks we had awarded for that criterion. If there was a discrepancy between the marks awarded in a particular criterion, we would go back to the student's work, sometimes reading sections aloud to demonstrate that the required characteristics were or were not present in the student's work. You can see an example of this type of discussion here.
So for knowledge application for mine, it was 7 out of 9.
Mine as well.
Okay.
So what brought that down for me, I think I gave it a 6, was analysis, the aesthetic features and stylistic devices. I saw that they had used aesthetic features, but I didn't really see them going in depth into stylistic devices.
Yep.
And once again, because they're both in there, I'm not sure how much to weigh.
I know, it's such a difficult choice.
I had the exact same.
Hence this.
I had the exact same statement. Like I looked at it as effects of aesthetic features definitely there. They use the stylistic devices in their talk. So when they talk about 1984, they're using the language 1984 uses for different people, but then also using the actual word we use in current day. So I'm trying to remember off the top of my head.
I think
They turned around and said they use the words the concept of a personal life or own life, as it is known in 1984. So they've gone to attempt it, but they haven't really gone beyond that.
But I do have to say, I really liked how, rather than talking about, the citizens of the society or whatever, they would use the specific terms used in the text. So for example, party members for 1984, or I can't remember the one for we, but they did that as well. So
ciphers.
Yes, ciphers.
The second builder.
I feel like that was very much a combination of that stylistic devices and the aesthetic features, because it's really prompting an emotional response, but it's a key feature of language that they're using in the text.
So after discussing each criterion, we would negotiate a mark each group member was comfortable with. You can see an example of this negotiation here.
Torn between 7 and 8 now.
Yeah, I had it as 7.
Would you be confident enough to push it up to an 8?
I would be fine with pushing it.
And would you be confident enough to bring it down to an 8?
It would have strengthened.
Because I don't think I'd go to a 9, just because I didn't think they did the second one as discerning.
Yeah, I had.
Just because I couldn't really see it very much.
It was more about
Yeah, I had it.
It's more about the surveillance and the individual.
Yeah.
If you are discussing the proper assessment task sheet, do you know what I mean?
But if we were basing it on the task sheet we were basing on,
No,
I had effective analysis.
Basing it on this task sheet 8, the other one I'd probably go 9.
Okay, cool. So we'll say 8 for that.
By the end of the quality assurance process, we ended up awarding the student a grade of 21 out of 25, which was roughly the average of the marks each individual in our group awarded the student. This demonstrated that each of us valued the group's opinion, and we were all able to justify the reasoning behind our initial judgment and persuade others to our point of view using evidence. While on PECS, I marked drafts for students in Year 10, had in-depth discussions with one of my supervising teachers about her experiences being on the QCAA panel, and was able to view one Year 12 student's drama assessment and discuss her possible result with my supervising teacher. The quality assurance process used for the Year 12 students was quite rigorous, as consensus moderation was used at the school before student work was sent off to panel. Discussions over student work tended to be shorter than the discussion we had in EUN222, and not as much negotiation took place over final grades awarded. However, quality assurance did not seem to be as rigorously applied to marking assessments for Year 10 classes. I had the opportunity to mark several students' drafts. However, due to my supervising teacher's busy schedules, we did not have the opportunity to discuss the marking process in depth. I returned the drafts to her and asked whether she thought I was on track with my marking and feedback. She said I was, however, we did not have an in-depth discussion about student work before handing drafts back to students. Because of this, I don't feel I can say I observed any consensus moderation or cross-marking processes being used in these classes. However, as the junior secondary assessments I was marking were drafts and did not determine the student's final grade, my supervising teachers may also have been more casual during this part of the marking process, as students still had a chance to improve their results. Time constraints were also a very real factor in the kinds of discussions teachers were able to have regarding student work during my PECs. Our EUN222 team was able to take an hour to discuss an individual student's final result on one assessment. This does not seem possible to achieve for every single student within a teacher's working week. One of my supervising teachers remarked that she could tell which students would be getting an A and which students would fail the assessment before she began the marking process. She also told me that she arranged her pile of assessments with those she thought would do well at the top and those she thought would fail at the bottom of the pile. This did not seem like a strategy that would lead to fair and consistent judgments to me. When marking the IA1 English assessment with my university team of students, we were able to be uniquely unbiased in our process as the task was de-identified, so we had no preconceptions about what mark the student would get. According to AD, quality assurance serves to establish public confidence in the quality, equity, and fairness of an assessment regime. Quality assurance can also improve the quality of teachers' assessment and helps guide their pedagogy to improve students' learning. Consensus moderation or social moderation is particularly essential as, according to Brookhart and Chen, using rubrics can achieve acceptable levels of consistent and reliable judgment, even though they do not always do so. While using a common set of standards or criteria provided by a subject syllabus improves quality assurance, assessors must be consistent in applying the standards and must make comparable judgments. To achieve comparable and consistent judgments, it is crucial that teachers from different year levels, schools, classes, or institutions gather together to discuss their judgments in the social moderation process. To becoming a fully qualified teacher, I have 3 main strategies I will use to make fair, consistent, and defensible judgments of student learning. Number 1, I will participate in social moderation processes wherever possible and as often as possible throughout the marking process. Number 2, I will try to de-identify student assessments while marking by printing out assessments without names to prevent bias for and against particular students. Number 3, I will refresh myself with the relevant marking instrument and criterion before and during the marking process to ensure I am using the assessment instrument correctly and fairly in all of my marking.